Now, to anyone listening to this video, at this point, we're going to switch over to the more detailed discussion. So there are spoilers ahead. Should you not wish to hear any of these spoilers, feel free to click on a timestamp for further on in the video. Alright, as I stated, there are scenes that are simply there for basically fan service. There's a scene where Obi-Wan has to get onto a transport. Nobody knows he's Obi-Wan. Nobody's supposed to know he's Obi-Wan. But when he has his fake ID to get onto the transport, he moves his coat in such a way that his lightsaber is visible. Now, for the audience, this is like, hey, he's got his lightsaber. He's going to get back in action. All right. But anybody else on screen seeing that would instantly call the Empire and be like, hey, I just found a Jedi here. Your troops are still here because they got one hanging up over there. So guess what? There's another one. He's going on this transport. You can check with whoever owns it where it's going, and you'll have your man. A lot of fan service simply for the sake of fan service instead of being interwoven in the plot. I didn't like that. There's also a message of Leia's parents talking to Obi-Wan about helping them rescue her. And it's a lot of it is verbatim the message that Leia sends to Obi-Wan in A New Hope. There's a part where Leia's mother says, you're the only one we can trust, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. And this echoes exactly what Leia says in the message she has for Obi-Wan in A New Hope. Which, yeah, I guess it's a nice callback, but it's highly implausible that they would use the exact same phrasing, exact same words. So I guess you could throw it under her mother speaks that way, so she grew up with her mother, she might speak the same way, but I think it's way too coincidental and it doesn't work. It's cringe, it feels forced. As I said, my biggest issue was that there are no stakes. When Owen gets threatened by Third Sister, she has her lightsaber against his neck. She says to the people of the town, tell me where the Jedi is or I will kill this man and his family. We know that Owen, his wife, and Luke all survive. So we know that that's not going to happen. How does he get out of it? The Grand Inquisitor says, you know what, no, we can't do that. Let's get out of here. And it's underwhelming. Again, as I said, the only surprise is how are they going to get out of this, not the fact that they got out of it. Which brings me to the Grand Inquisitor, which pretty much echoes the biggest problem with this show, other than there being no stakes, and that's continuity. The first time the Grand Inquisitor appears, the first time we're introduced to him as an audience, is in a show called Star Wars Rebels. And this show came out in 2014. So basically what Star Wars is saying, what Obi-Wan Kenobi is saying, hey, you can't really get most out of this show unless you watched all that. You know, and that kind of says to me, like, you have to be a diehard Star Wars fan to really embrace this. Now, surely this is nothing new. If I were to count the number of films in the MCU, the latest entry is Doctor Strange, at the time of speaking, is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which is the 28th film in the MCU franchise as a whole. Yeah, that's right. Now, with this film, it is required to fully enjoy it to have seen certain other elements of the MCU. Would you say that this is comparable to what the Star Wars franchise is doing with Obi-Wan Kenobi? Would you say it's the same? No, I would not say it's the same for one particular reason. The MCU has been around for a while. By the time Avengers came out in 2012, the MCU was basically saying to us, listen, man, this is the deal. We have a plan. This is what we're going to do. This is the 6th film in the entry. You have to be up to date with everything beforehand to fully enjoy this one. And this is what we're going to do from now on. So you got to pay attention. You got to stay tuned And you have to try to follow up with everything that comes after so that you can enjoy the payoff for everything that we have set up. So the MCU warned us that we have to pay attention. With Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's this new show comes out and it says to you, oh, yeah, by the way, there's a few characters here. If you want to fully enjoy the show, you have to go back and watch that other show from 2014. So you weren't prepared for this. The MCU prepared you, which is why I say it's the biggest difference. You know that you have to keep up with the MCU. The MCU gave you a chance. That being said, I find that Disney is trying to make the Star Wars franchise very much like the MCU in terms of build up and payoff. The only problem is there is lore that you have to go back to research. There was no starting point where they say, okay, from this point on, you have to pay attention. And also, it just doesn't work. They tried that with The Rise of Skywalker. The finale seemed way too much like Endgame. You know, it seems like all hope is lost. They're going to fall to the enemy. And all of a sudden, this huge fleet of allies shows up. The difference with Endgame and The Rise of Skywalker is that it wasn't earned in Rise of Skywalker. There was no build up to it other than in the movie, people talking to Lando, people talking to Poe's old friend from the planet that Babu Frick was on. I forgot her name. And they all say, no, I can't help you, you're on your own. No, I can't help you, you're on your own. And then they all of a sudden show up, which is a cliche in film. But in Endgame, the fact that at the end of Infinity War, everybody disappeared. We didn't know if they were going to come back or how they were going to come back until the point where the Hulk snaps his fingers and Ant-Man goes out and hears the birds and says, I think it worked. You know, it worked, but we're still alone against Thanos. And then you see Captain America standing there and he gets that. This doesn't happen with a boom. It's not, you know, ships coming in through light speed warps. This is a simple message on Captain America's comm where Sam Wilson says, Steve, are you there? Can you hear me? And then with 3 words, he makes everybody in the theater who sees the movie for the first time jump out of their seats. 3 words are, on your left. Right? Mm-hmm. And the payoff of that is because there was a buildup. With Star Wars, there's been no buildup, which to me says Star Wars is for fans and the MCU makes fans.
Mm-hmm. You were speaking of the Grand Inquisitor, which is somewhat confusing because we're still in the spoiler section. The Inquisitor is killed by Third Sister in the 2nd episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yet you say, as an audience, we're first introduced to him in a show called Star Wars Rebels. The Star Wars Rebels take place before Obi-Wan Kenobi? I would assume that it does.
Actually, Star Wars Rebels takes place 5 years after Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Uh-huh.
Which, again, if you have seen Star Wars Rebels, or if you're like, I want to go back and watch Star Wars Rebels and find out who this guy is, again, no stakes, because you know he was killed, but he's not going to die. He's not going to remain dead. He's going to come back somehow, and it's going to be the same situation. Not so much of will it happen, but more the how of it. How are they going to bring him back? Are they going to clone him? Is he going to get mechanical parts like certain cyborgs? But again, no stakes. I also feel that because Darth Vader is involved in this, I feel like the final battle, or a battle anyway, between him and Obi-Wan is not going to take place until the final episode, which feels like bait, because it's like, okay, we're going to let you watch this show, this entire show. Keep watching it. We're going to have some filler. But by the end of it, you're going to have Obi-Wan against Darth Vader.
Is this a fight you are looking forward to?
It would be, again, if there were stakes involved. Because we know for a fact Obi-Wan and Darth Vader do not face off again until A New Hope, which means, again, nobody's going to die. Nobody's going to get grievously injured. Another aspect that I feel is a bit bait, Third Sister herself. She seems to have a grudge against Obi-Wan. We don't know why. There is a theory that she used to be one of the younglings, the young Padawans who were training when Order 66 was executed, and she somehow blames Obi-Wan for, I don't know, not protecting them or something.
Now, my issue with this is you're not giving me the backstory on her. You expect me to watch the entire show so that I know what her motivations are, why she hates Obi-Wan. And should the theory be true that she was one of the younglings who survived and eventually joined the Inquisitors, it wouldn't make any sense. Because why hold a grudge against Obi-Wan, but work for Darth Vader, who was the one who killed the younglings?
But does she know that Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker are in fact the same person?
She knows this because she goads Obi-Wan with this information, and she tells him Anakin Skywalker is still alive. So again, if this is the theory, I don't know if that's the way they're going to go, if they're going to present something else, but if this is it, it wouldn't make sense because you're telling me that she hates Obi-Wan, but the guy who actually did the killing, she's working for him, actively working for him, knowing he's the guy who did it. As for the opening scene, Disney did attach a warning that it has some sensitive content because in some ways it is similar to the recent shootings in the Texas elementary school. And I have a feeling that they cut this scene to kind of lessen that impact. And I think that was very wise of Disney to at least attach a message saying, listen, there is a scene in this that might trigger memories of that or might seem very similar to that incident. So I am happy that they at least took that into consideration.